Welcome to the CPS test garden. Today we're going to look at one of the beds that we planted before. This is our Luscious Leaves bed. So this has been planted for about 3 weeks. This was a bed where we did not plant it over the summer, so the soil was super bare, and we came in, cleared out all of the weeds, and then planted a fall garden. So if you can look really closely, I think this is like a example of what happens when you're not doing a very good job of maintaining your garden and keeping the weeds out. So I'll point out what the plants are, and then then everything else is kind of weeds. So we planted romaine lettuce here. And I guess one thing to say before that is there used to be a cilantro plant here. We planted some of those seeds, but you'll also notice a lot of cilantro growing everywhere. So that plant actually dropped a lot of its seeds. So the cilantro is kind of growing all over, which then technically could be a weed because it's not exactly where we want it. So we planted romaine lettuce. I believe we did 4 of those. So you can see one right here. And we planted a couple in each spot. So here's the second location. Here's a third, hey little honeybee. And that is all that I see there. So everything else here is weeds. This was an ovation mix, so this was a sprinkle of different things. This is a kale that was part of that. That came up really nicely. I think this is part of that mix too. That's like a mustard green. So there's a couple things that's going to be real hard to deal with. And then Swiss chard over here. I see one that came up right there. And I think we put 4 or 5. So we only have one. And then cilantro was all over here. We sprinkled it. And there's like a couple in the spot that we want it to be. And then a lot over here. So a couple things that you can do is so you want to come in and get everything out of here that was not what you intended. So if you can get if you can stop the photosynthesis just by getting the leaves off, that usually when plants are this small is sufficient. So, but you also don't want to damage any of the roots. So if you have a little snips or a scissors, you can kind of go around the base of the plant that you want to save and snip the things that are right next to it. And then with another tool, and I have this tool, you can also kind of make these with like a hanger, like a dry cleaning hanger. But you can just come by then and move around and kind of cut off all those other plants. And generally at this stage, oh my goodness, there's so many, you can usually just leave those in the sun to dry out. Wow. So I'm gonna kind of come close to that Swiss chard, but protect it with my fingers. And then go back around with this and just clip really closely to it. And then I'll go ahead and just kind of clear the rest of this bed so that these plants don't go to seed and create even more problems for us later, and also prevent the plants from growing that we actually want to grow. And if I accidentally pressed on those roots, I can press down a little bit more. And you can kind of get the idea. The trouble will be is like in these areas where we sprinkled the ovation mix, that's a little harder. So you kind of have to pick and choose from there. what you want to keep and what you're going to try to let go. And I would say that one of my learnings from this is that when you have a really weedy bed like this, or potentially weedy bed, it's probably a good idea to plant just in rows, because then you can come back and weed really clearly between those rows. So I'll probably try that next time. So thanks for coming out today, and good luck with your weeding.